This guided sleep meditation and sleep story is for moments when you're tired beyond sleep, when you long for the nostalgia and wonder and safety of simpler times, when a blanket fort can become a portal to imagination and letting go. This is the place of comfort, where nothing needs your effort, a place to simply be allowed to rest, to heal. Just listen and let this journey to a crystal cavern under a blanket fort carry the rest. Welcome to Under Moon and Stars. My name is Shelley, and I'll be here with you as you build a blanket fort and step into imagination as you drift into deep, peaceful sleep tonight. Thank you for being here. Crayons and colored pencils lie scattered across the table, their soft wooden sides catching the warm light of the room. Small instruments of quiet creation, resting exactly where they were set down a little while ago, as though the imagination had simply paused for a moment rather than finished its work. Raindrops patter lightly on rooftop and window glass. A perfect night for a living room expedition. Sheets of paper wait nearby, already cut and shaped into gentle triangles with long, uneven ridges. Their colored edges striped in soft blues and violets and pale mineral greens, small fragments of landscape that seem to hint at a journey yet to come. Down on the floor, a length of blue cloth has been allowed to spill loosely from its folded bundle, the scrap fabric gathering in quiet ripples across the carpet, like a pool of still water, its colors shifting softly wherever the light touches its surface. Beside it rests a small pouch filled with smooth stones and small crystals gathered from earlier days, each one cool and polished by patient rivers or hidden streams, their colors deep and varied: smoky quartz, pale gray granite, flashes of amber and violet facets, little pieces of the earth waiting quietly to become part of the evening's imagined world. Blankets waiting nearby are gathered now and lifted gently into place, their soft weight stretching slowly between the backs of chairs and the low edge of the couch, the fabric settling in wide folds that drape toward the floor like small slopes of quiet landscape. Another blanket is drawn across the space between an ottoman and the arm of a chair, its corners tucked carefully so the cloth holds its shape, the surface rising slightly where the tension pulls it upward, before falling again into loose, comfortable curves. The room grows quieter as the small structure begins to form, the hanging fabric softening the lamplight and muffling the distant sounds of the house, until the space beneath the blankets begins to feel gently separate from the rest of the evening. It's the kind of space that once appeared easily, built without much thought at all, when a few blankets and a quiet room were enough to open the door to entire landscapes waiting just beyond the edge of imagination. And tonight, the shapes waiting here, the paper props, the scattered colors, the stones, the quiet pool of fabric, seem almost ready to become something more, something deeper, something hidden beneath the surface of the earth, a place where crystal light gathers slowly in ancient stone. An empty wrapping paper tube is lifted from the table and placed carefully beneath one of the sloping blankets. The long cardboard cylinder, standing upright to hold the fabric a little higher, creating a small archway where there had only been a low fold before. Another tube is added nearby, lifting the fabric again so that a small tunnel begins to take shape, its soft ceiling stretching just high enough for someone to move through comfortably. The blanket fort begins to grow this way, slowly and patiently, blanket by blanket, tunnel by tunnel. One space opens into another as the fabric drapes between chairs and cushions, creating small passageways that lead toward little rooms tucked quietly beneath the sheltering cloth. A pillow is placed along the floor to soften the entrance to one tunnel. Another tucked deeper inside, where the blankets form a wide chamber that feels just large enough to sit or lie down. The fabric shifts gently with each small adjustment, the blankets settling and resettling, as though they are slowly learning the shape of the fort they're becoming. Before long, the little structure begins to feel less like a few blankets draped across furniture, and more like a hidden network of soft corridors and quiet rooms. Along the floor of these small chambers, colorful stones are scattered carefully, one by one, their polished surfaces catching the warm glow of the nearby lamp. Each one placed gently into a corner or along the edge of a pillow, as though marking small discoveries within the hidden rooms. A few of the stones are set in the tunnels themselves, resting quietly along the edges where a hand might brush against them, while moving through the fort's winding passages. The blue cloth that had earlier rested in loose folds on the floor is gathered now and carried deeper into the little structure, where one of the wider rooms opens beneath a slope of blankets, supported by two of the cardboard tubes. The fabric is spread across the floor of this chamber in wide ripples, its soft color pooling across the carpet as though creating a quiet place set aside for something peaceful and still. Another pillow is placed nearby, its soft edge pressing gently against the fabric so that the folds settle comfortably into the space. The structure grows slowly more complete with each small addition, the rooms taking on their own character as the blankets stretch between furniture and the tunnels curve softly from one chamber to another. And at the very front of the fort, where the lowest blanket forms a small doorway between the room outside and the quiet world within, one final companion is set carefully in place. A small stuffed animal bat is lifted gently and hooked over the edge of the blanket so that it hangs just above the entrance. Its tiny wings folded loosely around its plush body, its soft shape swaying only slightly as it settles into place. It hangs there quietly, just above the opening, keeping watch over the little doorway where the tunnels begin. It won't join us on this journey. It will only stand watch at the entrance. From the outside, the blanket fort now stretches across the living room, like a small hidden village of fabric and shadow. Its tunnels weaving between chairs and cushions, its quiet rooms tucked beneath the gentle slopes of blankets that glow softly in the warm lamplight of evening. Everything that was needed for this small world has been placed carefully within it. The tunnel waits, the chambers are ready, and the soft doorway opens patiently into the quiet spaces and imagination beyond. The room seems to pause for a moment, as though the evening itself is taking a gentle step back to admire the hidden world that has been created. From here, standing just a little higher on the steps that lead down into the living room, the blanket fort looks different than it did while it was being built. Seen from above, the structure spreads across the room like a small landscape made entirely from fabric and quiet imagination. The little rooms hidden deeper inside the fort can only be guessed at now. Their spaces suggested by the subtle shapes beneath the blankets, where pillows and careful folds have created wider chambers beneath the sloping fabric. A lantern, or a simple camping headlamp, or maybe an old-fashioned flashlight, is lifted gently from the nearby table. Its small handle cool in the hand, as the light within it glows to life with a warm, steady brightness. The light feels right for this moment, a small companion for exploring the hidden spaces that now wait quietly below. With the same calm patience that built this little world in the first place, the descent begins. One careful step moves downward from the ledge of the stairs toward the living room floor, a soft carpet cushioning the movement as the lantern light lowers closer to the waiting entrance. Another another step follows, slower now, becoming a trek down a mountainside. The beam of light gliding across the floor and over the gentle folds of the blanket as the fort, the cave, grows larger with each quiet movement forward. Warm light drifts upward for a moment, catching the soft fabric above the doorway and illuminating the small guardian hanging there, its tiny stitched face calm and encouraging. Standing here at the edge of the entrance, the small hidden world of the fort stretches quietly inward, waiting for the moment when the first careful movement begins. The hands reach forward and the body lowers towards the floor, beginning the slow movement into the tunnel beyond. Blankets brush softly along shoulders as the portal is passed through. Fabric warm from the lamplight that still glows faintly outside. For just a moment, the ceiling of the tunnel rests low above, the familiar folds of cloth forming a small sheltered passage that curves gently ahead. But almost immediately, imagination swells and the space begins to open. The blanket ceiling lifts higher than expected, the fabric arching upward as though the small supports beneath it have quietly grown taller. The tunnel widening and rising until the air above feels spacious and easy. The body straightens, and a little more, until standing beneath the softly rising ceiling. Behind, the living room light fades gradually through the entrance of the tunnel, leaving only the warm glow of the lantern to illuminate the space ahead. The blankets that form the walls ripple slightly where the air moves, their folds stretching longer than they seemed from the outside. The tunnel extending forward in a gentle curve that disappears gradually into dimness. The quiet within the space feels deeper now. The sounds of the house and rain have softened into something distant and indistinct, as though the simple act of stepping into the fort has created a small distance from the busy edges of the day. The lantern light glides slowly along the walls of the tunnel, catching the soft weave of the fabric where it rises into gentle arches high overhead. And yet, after another step forward, something about the space begins to feel subtly different. The blankets overhead seem to lift just a little higher still, their soft folds stretching upward into shapes that no longer quite resemble cloth. The texture along the walls begins to deepen, the smooth fabric taking on faint patterns of shadow and unevenness, as though the surfaces have grown older, more weathered, quietly shaped by time. Triangular shapes appear, stalactites and stalagmites, hanging tightly from above and holding mightily from the tunnel floor. The lantern light moves again, and the ceiling above reflects it in a different way now. The shadows longer, the curves more irregular, the passage extending farther than the fort could possibly stretch. The tunnel continues widening. The air feels cooler here, fresh and still. The faintest echo answers the soft sound of movement, returning it gently a moment later, as though the space ahead has grown far larger. There's no sense of hurry in this place. No need to question the quiet transformation that has unfolded so naturally along the way, because the small worlds built from blankets and careful imagination have always carried a quiet kind of acceptance of wonder and awe within them. The shapes made by hand, the hidden spaces formed beneath chairs and cushions, the little tunnels and rooms that once appeared so easily in childhood evenings, none of them truly disappeared. They simply waited in the quiet corners of memory, waited in the gentle creativity that still rests beneath the surface of even the busiest days. And tonight, stepping forward into the widening passage, it becomes clear that those small imagined places have never gone anywhere at all. They've only been waiting patiently for a quiet evening like this one, waiting for the moment when the lantern is lifted, the doorway is opened, and the journey inward begins once more. The last soft hint of blanket and fabric fades gently behind, leaving only the cool open air of a stone corridor stretching deeper into the earth. The lantern lifts slightly. Gaze brushes the opening above, and the ceiling stretches upward into darkness so high that the warm circle of light cannot find its edge. The stone arching overhead in immense quiet curves of this cavern, shaped by time far older than memory. Walls move outward in every direction now, rising like the sides of a vast natural cathedral, carved slowly by the patient movement of water and earth. And for a moment, it's easy to simply stand here and take in the scale of it. Light glides slowly across the nearby stone, revealing soft mineral patterns and gentle curves where the rock has been worn smooth over countless years. Farther away, the cavern fades into deep shadow. the lantern's glow reaching only a small distance into the immense space before it dissolves into quiet darkness. Yet even in the dimness, there's a feeling of openness here, a sense that the cavern stretches outward far beyond what can be seen. Each small sound, the shift of a foot, the soft movement of breath, drifts outward and returns again moments later, the echoes arriving gently, like distant reminders of just how wide the chamber truly is. And yet, standing here beneath the vast stone ceiling, there's no sense of being lost within it, only a quiet feeling of wonder. Because something about this place feels deeply welcoming, as though the cavern itself has been waiting patiently for someone to arrive and notice its quiet beauty. The lantern light rises again, drifting slowly upward along the stone walls, where faint ridges and flowing mineral shapes catch the glow and soften it, reflecting it back in gentle variations of shadow and light. It becomes clear now. The cavern is not empty darkness at all. It is simply vast, like the night sky pricked by points of illumination. A space large enough to allow stillness to settle fully, large enough for thoughts to slow, large enough for the busy edges of the day to finally loosen their hold. And standing here now, beneath the immense quiet ceiling of the cavern, something begins to soften inside. The world above, with all its rushing and noise and endless things, feels very far away. Here, there's nothing to accomplish, nothing to prove, nothing that needs to be fixed. There's only this quiet moment beneath the wide stone arches of the earth, and the quiet understanding that the same imagination from simpler times that once built small hidden worlds beneath blankets and chairs still lives gently within you now. It never vanished, it never faded, it simply waited, patient and quiet, for the moment when it was needed. The cavern breathes its stillness. The lantern light rests softly in hand. Stone walls rise into shadow, their surfaces shaped by centuries of patient water and silent geological breath. The air cool and calm, enough that even the faintest movement carries softly outward before dissolving again into the wide hush of the chamber. Footsteps travel slowly across the cavern floor. Each step meets smooth mineral ground, worn gently by ages beyond counting. The surface cool beneath the quiet rhythm of movement. Far above, unseen arches hold the earth in vast curves. Their presence felt more than seen. The ceiling so high that darkness gathers comfortably within its distance. And somewhere deeper, within the immense chamber ahead, the stone walls begin to hint at other spaces waiting quietly to be discovered. Gradually, the open floor of the cavern begins to change. The stone beneath grows paler. The air shifts in a subtle way, difficult to name at first, as though the darkness ahead holds something quietly reflective within it. At the far edge of the cavern, the walls draw inward again, not sharply, but with a natural narrowing of space, guiding the path gently forward through a passage where the stone grows smoother, almost glass-like in places. Along the surfaces of the corridor, faint lines begin to appear. Long, pale shapes embedded in the rock. At first, they seem like simple mineral veins, slender streaks of white threading silently through darker stone. Yet, with each step deeper into the passage, those pale forms lengthen, edges sharpen, surfaces catch the dim glow of the cavern in curious ways, scattering soft reflections across the walls like fragments of moonlight caught within the earth. The passage widens once more. The pale mineral shapes that first appeared along the walls no longer remain small. They extend outward now, long, angular forms reaching slowly into the space of the corridor. Crystal faces emerge from the stone, as though growing directly from the cavern itself. Their surfaces smooth and translucent, their geometry quiet yet immense. The air here carries a faint luminosity, not bright, not harsh, but a gentle radiance that seems to rise from the crystals themselves, a cool silver glow breathing through the chamber like the quiet light of the distant moonlight filtered through stone. And as the corridor continues forward, the full scale of the space begins to reveal itself. The crystals grow larger, far larger than any mineral formation expected beneath the earth. Some lean diagonally across the chamber, like fallen pillars of pale glass. Others rise upright from the cavern floor in immense columns, their hexagonal faces stretching upward, far beyond easy measurement, disappearing in a soft shadow where their tips vanish among the heights of the chamber. Between them, open paths weave naturally through the crystal forest. The chamber itself expands gradually in all directions, until the earlier cavern seems almost modest by comparison. Here, the earth has shaped something extraordinary. Great beams of translucent gypsum rest against one another in quiet arrangements, their surfaces reflecting and refracting the gentle glow that fills the room. Light moves differently within a place like this. Soft radiance slips along crystal edges, bends through translucent interiors, and returns again as pale, shimmering reflections, drifting slowly across the cavern walls. Within some crystals, faint milky currents swirl through the mineral depths, like frozen clouds suspended inside glass. Others remain nearly clear, their long faces revealing layered textures where millennia of slow growth added one delicate surface upon another. Silence rests comfortably among them. Even echoes seem a little softer here, absorbed by the vast mineral structures that surround the chamber in quiet geometric harmony. Standing among these towering forms brings a strange and beautiful sensation. The feeling of walking through something both ancient and delicate at the same time. Each crystal appears impossibly strong, yet carries a quiet elegance, as though shaped not by force but by patience. Time itself seems to have moved slowly in this place, not in days or seasons, but in deep geological rhythms, where centuries, millennia pass as gently as drifting clouds. Nothing here feels hurried. Nothing demands attention. Instead, the space invites stillness, invites quiet wandering, invites the simple experience of moving through wonder without needing to explain it. And somewhere in that quiet movement through crystal light and ancient stone, the same thought rises again, one that often waits beneath the surface of ordinary days. That imagination never disappears, waiting patiently in the deeper caverns of the mind, much like these luminous crystals waited within the earth, forming slowly, silently, until the moment someone is ready for their reveal. Here, in the calm glow of the chamber, surrounded by pillars of quiet mineral light, that waiting imagination feels awake once more. Not loudly, not urgently, simply present. like a lantern rediscovered after a long evening, still glowing softly, still ready to guide gentle exploration through the hidden landscapes that have always existed within. Deeper within the chamber, beyond the tall forest of crystal beams, the cavern continues onward, its luminous paths curving quietly toward other rooms where the earth has been shaping beauty for far longer than any memory could reach. The forest of pale gypsum crystals thins gradually. Towering beams of translucent stone begin to stand farther apart, their long faces catching the chamber's cool glow one last time before fading gently into the dimness behind. Beyond them, the cavern passage curves inward again, its walls smoothing and rounding in a way that feels subtly different from the crystalline geometry left behind. The air grows warmer here, with the quiet comfort of earth that has rested undisturbed for ages. A calm coziness that seems to cradle the space rather than fill it. The corridor narrows briefly, stone walls bending into soft arcs as though shaped by slow tides of ancient water. Faint hints of color begin to gather within the rock. At first, only a whisper of violet threaded through pale stone. Then, deeper shades appear, muted purples and dusky lavender tones, resting within the curved surfaces of the passage. Light here behaves differently. Instead of the cool silver shimmer of the crystal chamber behind, the glow that begins to gather ahead carries a deeper hue, something richer, softer, almost velvety in its quiet radiance. The corridor bends once more, and the cavern opens again. Not outward into towering height this time, but inward, into a vast rounded chamber that feels immediately different from the open cathedral spaces before it. The walls curve gently upward in every direction, forming the immense interior of what feels like a great geode hidden deep within the earth. Amethyst crystals cover the rounded stone surfaces from floor to ceiling. Some rise in clustered points, like fields of violet glass. Others spread across the curved walls in wide mineral blooms, their faceted surfaces layered in countless shades of purple, from the palest lilac near their tips to deep royal indigo, where the crystals meet the ancient stone beneath. The chamber glows, not brightly, not sharply, but with a quiet radiance that seems to breathe softly through the gem's surfaces. Violet light drifting through the space, as though the crystal itself remembers twilight from another age. Every direction holds color. The curved walls catch and return the gentle glow again and again, until the entire chamber feels filled with soft violet dusk. Where the amethyst clusters grow thicker, the crystals gather into tall formations that rise like frozen fountains from the floor. Their facets catch the mineral light in quiet flashes, scattering delicate reflections across the surrounding stone, like drifting fragments of twilight. Other areas remain smoother, the curved geode wall visible beneath smaller crystals that shimmer like fields of tiny violet stars embedded into the rock. The rounded shape of the chamber changes the way sound moves through this space. Even the smallest movement seems to settle quickly into stillness, absorbed by the sweeping curves of crystal and stone that surround the room on all sides. Nothing echoes too sharply here. Instead, the cavern holds sound, the way a gentle cupped hand holds water, softly, carefully, without letting anything spill into noise. Standing within this chamber carries a feeling difficult to describe. The space does not tower above in the way the earlier caverns did. Instead, it curves protectively around the entire room. The geode walls arching upward and inward until the chamber feels almost like a great mineral sphere resting quietly within the earth. A natural sanctuary formed slowly over unimaginable time. The amethyst glow deepens toward the center of the room, where crystal clusters grow tallest and richest in color. Some reach shoulder height, others rise far taller. Violet wedges formed from countless interlocking points of surreal crystal. Within their translucent depths, subtle currents of color drift like quiet clouds suspended in stone. Shades of plum and lavender mingle with deeper indigo shadows, each crystal holding its own small universe of light. Yet despite the richness of color and form, the chamber carries an unmistakable calm. No sharp edges of urgency, no sense of pressure. Only the quiet presence of something ancient and steady. The rounded geode walls seem almost to breathe with stillness, their curves creating a subtle sense of shelter, as though the earth itself has formed a place meant not for exploration alone, but for rest. Here, surrounded by the slow beauty of ancient growth that unfolded over millions of silent years, another quiet understanding begins to surface. Belonging does not need to be earned. Worth does not need to be proven. Just as these crystals formed slowly within darkness, layer by patient layer, their beauty was never rushed, never demanded. It simply emerged over time, guided by the quiet laws of nature and the steady patience of the earth. In much the same way, the quiet parts of the heart often grow strongest in stillness, not through effort, not through striving, but through moments like this one, when the world grows calm enough for deeper truths to rise gently to the surface. Within the soft violet glow of the Geode chamber, that truth rests easily in the air. There is space here, space to breathe, space to rest, space to remember that the deeper parts of imagination, wonder, and quiet belonging have always been present, waiting patiently beneath the surface of ordinary days. And for a while, the cavern simply holds that calm. Amethyst light drifting softly across curved stone, crystal clusters standing silent like ancient gardens of violet glass. A hidden chamber deep within the earth, glowing gently around the quiet center of the journey. Beyond the violet quiet of the chamber, the cavern continues its slow and patient unfolding. Amethyst clusters grow smaller along the curved walls, their rich color fading gradually into softer mineral shades as the path bends gently onward through the rounded stone. The air carries a subtle change here. A faint warmth begins to drift through the passage, delicate at first, like the quiet memory of spring held within rock. Along with it comes another sensation, a softness in the air itself, a barely visible veil that curls and shifts in slow, graceful threads. Steam. It moves almost lazily through the corridor, rising in pale ribbons and dissolving and gathering again as the path curves forward. The stone beneath feet grows smoother, shaped by the long companionship of water. And soon, the quiet presence of that water becomes clear. At first only as a faint sound somewhere ahead, a gentle flowing murmur, steady and unhurried. like a distant stream threading its way through the hidden places of the earth. The corridor opens slowly into another, wider chamber. Here, the cavern floor lowers slightly, revealing a broad underground lake resting within a cradle of stone. Water stretches outward in calm stillness, its surface smooth as polished glass, holding the soft reflections of the chamber above. Color lives within this space, not too bright or dazzling, but luminous in a quiet, dreamlike way. Along the curved cavern walls, small mineral lights shimmer gently, natural points of radiance scattered across the stone like distant stars caught within the earth. Some glow with deep violet tones, echoes of the amethyst chambers left behind. Others shine in cooler shades of blue, pale turquoise, and soft sapphire. Their reflections drift across the lake's surface, spreading outward in delicate patterns of color that ripple slowly whenever the water moves. Together, they create the quiet illusion of a night sky, violet and blue stars shimmering both above and beneath the calm surface of the underground lake. Near one side of the chamber, the gentle sound of flowing water grows clearer. From a natural opening in the stone wall, a hot spring emerges, a quiet stream of water spilling gracefully into the lake below. Steam rises where the spring meets the cooler cavern air, curling upward in soft white spirals before dissolving among the glowing lights scattered across the chamber. The surface of the lake responds with slow, widening circles, the warm spring feeding it continuously in a peaceful rhythm that has likely continued for millennia. The water itself carries beautiful color. In the deeper parts of the lake, the light reveals shades of teal and deep turquoise, tones that shift and blend as the gentle currents move beneath the surface. Closer to the spring, where the warmth gathers, the water grows lighter, almost luminous itself. A clear blue that seems to hold its own quiet glow. Stone ledges curve naturally along the shoreline, smooth places where the rock slopes gently toward the water's edge. Steam drifts slowly above these warm shallows, softening the view of the lake as it stretches across the cavern floor. The entire chamber feels suspended in a slow, peaceful rhythm. Water flowing softly from the spring, steam rising in gentle spirals, crystal starlight drifting across stone and water alike. It's the kind of place where time loosens its grip, where movement slows without effort, where even the quiet thoughts of the day begin to settle like soft silt sinking through clear water. Nothing here asks for attention. Nothing asks for effort. The cavern simply offers its warmth and stillness. A place formed slowly beneath the earth where water and stone have worked together for ages to create something both peaceful and quietly beautiful. And within that calm, a realization that rest is not something that must be chased or forced emerges. Just as this warm spring has flowed patiently into the lake for longer than anyone could remember, calm has its own way of arriving when space is given for it. The mind softens, the breath deepens. The quiet warmth of the cavern settles comfortably around the moment. And the turquoise waters of the underground lake continue their slow, peaceful rhythm. Its quiet flow beneath the ceiling of violet and blue stars. Steam drifts slowly above the water, rising in pale ribbons that curl and dissolve beneath the high arch of the cavern ceiling. Across the surface of the underground lake, reflections of violet and blue light move in gentle patterns, spreading softly through the turquoise water before fading again into stillness. Nothing in this place moves quickly. Even the drifting steam seems to rise with a kind of patience, as though the cavern itself has learned the cadence of deep rest over the long years of its quiet existence. Along the smooth stone edge of the lake, the warmth of the hot spring gathers in the shallow water, spreading slowly outward into the larger pool. The stone nearby holds that warmth as well. The rock, shaped into natural ledges where the earth seems to have prepared quiet resting places long before anyone arrived to discover them, scooped to hold those who seek rest and long to be held. The gentle glow continues to shimmer along the cavern walls. Soft violet points, cool blue stars, their reflections resting peacefully across the surface of the water. And as the stillness of the chamber deepens, something familiar begins to appear within the quiet landscape. At first, it feels almost like a memory surfacing, a subtle shape resting near the shoreline, soft folds gathered in gentle slopes, fabric, blankets. The shapes appear gradually, as though they had always belonged to the cavern but had simply been waiting to be noticed, woven quietly into the peaceful landscape. One blanket stretches between two smooth curves of stone, its soft fabric forming a familiar arch. Another drapes gently along the cavern floor nearby, its folds settling comfortably against the warm rock, as though the earth itself has welcomed the small structure into place. Pillows rest within the folds, their shapes simple and inviting. Steam drifts above them. Crystal lights shimmer gently across their soft surfaces. The two worlds no longer feel separate. Stone and blanket, crystal and pillow, warm spring water, and the quiet shelter of the fort. All of it is resting together within the same calm space, as though imagination and reality have simply decided to share the evening. Within this gentle merging of worlds, the discoveries of mind throughout the journey settle quietly into place. The vastness of the caverns, the patient beauty of crystals forming slowly within the earth, the warmth of being held in the amethyst chamber, the calm rhythm of water flowing through hidden places. None of it demanded effort. None of it required anything to be proven. Each part simply existed in its own quiet time. And somewhere within that calm unfolding rests the truth that often becomes easier to hear in a peaceful place like this. That imagination never disappears. The quieter landscapes within the mind remain. They wait patiently, much like the crystals that formed slowly beneath the earth, layer by delicate layer, much like the hidden spring that continues to flow gently into the underground lake. Those quiet inner spaces remain present, always available, always ready to open again when a small doorway is built from blankets and soft evening light. Within the shelter of the fort, beside the warm cavern lake, everything feels slower now. Steam curls upward in quiet spirals. The turquoise water continues its peaceful rhythm as the warm spring feeds the lake. Blankets rest in soft folds nearby, forming a familiar place of comfort within the glowing cavern. Nothing asks for attention anymore. Nothing asks for thought. The cavern holds its stillness. The warm water flows. The blanket fort waits quietly beside the gentle shoreline. And in this calm meeting place between imagination and rest, sleep is free to arrive in its own quiet time, like the slow formation of crystal within stone, like warm water finding its way patiently through the earth. Unhurried, natural, and deeply, peacefully calm. I wish you well, my friend. I wish you peace, and I'm glad you're